said earlier, you're a broker here at Podium Realty Group. You have an office here in Brickell, 800 Brickell on Brickell Avenue. It's a very, I mean, you have an office in basically the second largest financial district in the United States. Um, how do you now that you've done so well for yourself? What do you do for your personal investments? Like, do you have any passive investment streams?
For sure.
And are they in real estate?
For sure.
Real
Yes.
estate. So you have
Mhm.
property that you. What do you do? Like, how do you go about? Like, what's your strategy for investing, and what has worked the most for you to
Mhm.
create that alternative investment stream for the day that you decide not to work?
Yeah, right. For the
Yeah.
for the day that I decide Podium Realty should be run by somebody else. I think it's a very good question. I like rentals myself. I like to purchase properties, residential properties that I can, fix up. And I have a specific criteria on what I'm looking for with regards to pricing, but also what I'm looking for on return on investment.
What are those
And so
data
basically,
points? Like, what would you
perfect.
say?
That's a very good question. So basically, I'm looking for, rents that are monthly, that represent a 1% return on investment monthly from the total purchasing price. Okay, so basically that would be summed up a 12% return on investment, but that wouldn't be a net number after you do your net operating income. Likely it starts to settle down at about 8.5, 9%, sometimes a little bit more.
So 1% per month return on investment.
Mm-hmm.
So
1%,
12% a year.
12% a year. That's not net
Yeah.
in all cases, but
That's just like
that's what
one data point or
that's
one indicator of like a possible um, investment that you can make
correct.
money.
That's one indicator. The next indicator would be where the property is located, median income level of where it's located, how many schools are around, how many Targets, WalMarts, Publix, what's around the area. Do I see any properties that are growing or communities that are growing around the area that are going to bring up the value of that property within the next 5 to 10 years? Overall, how is the community, or how the medium income, is that level rising? Is it not? Is there talent, or are there corporations coming into the area or not? So, there are a few, different criterias that you can use for different areas in town. But I think that the most important one is that you want to take a look at how much the rent is, what your purchasing price is,
Right.
how much your expenses are, and really be able to say, okay, my net operating income at the end of the day in total will be no less than 9%.
Right.
And so,
And being realistic about it
and
and
being
like
exactly realistic about it. So what ends up happening is that, I have, various Excel spreadsheets that are able to determine that. So what I do is I find a property, I filter out these properties, I find them through different methods, and
yeah, how
just
do you
kind of.
scout deals? Like, do people come to you or do
Sure,
you
both
mainly
things. Yeah,
find look out for them?
that's a very good question. The first is I find a lot on the MLS. You'd be surprised. I have my filters set in place, and I find a lot on the MLS. Then the other way is I just, deals kind of come to me. I guess people kind of know I'm in the business. Um, they consider me to be also like a source of information for them.
Oh, I mean,
And
yeah, you're a broker.
yeah, and so at that point, they tell me what they have. If it's a match for me, then I'll go forward with it. If it's not a match for me, but then I have clients that I know that will match this property good enough, then we move forward and make it happen.
And do you ever work with other investors in purchasing properties to create, recurring cash flow on a monthly basis?
Mhm.
You work with other investors,
I
or
do.
just kind of like more your own thing?
I do. I've worked with other investors, and that has worked well for me in the past. But I think I've preferred lately to kind of simplify it, and because I have more resources available to me now,
Right.
I try to do it on my own. Um,
Resources being an expertise,
Expertise, capital,
support,
correct.
knowledge.
All of the above. Now, with regards to being able to do projects, I would probably do that more for my company, not on a personal level, and more for basically Podium Realty Group, or the investment of a group that are one of our clients.
And we're talking maybe like for a business Podium perspective, it'd be more like development,
Correct.
bigger quantity unit amounts.
Correct.
So your focus mainly, as far as like where your money rests and kind of works for you, is in real estate. Where you
Yes.
buy, rehab, and rent out
Correct.
for more than what the mortgage is,
hmm
ultimately. Um,
And a lot of these deals are also cash, so that the numbers make sense. But
Cash deals, no financing.
but
Is it smart to
mostly,
finance sometimes?
it is very smart to finance a lot of times.
So why do you do cash?
It's just because the return on investment it's much higher when I'm doing cash deals. It's
The math
quicker.
is easier too,
Correct. Well, the math
less
is
likely
easy
to
both
be
ways.
less likely to be incorrect.
It just takes a lot longer to get the return that you're looking for, on your capital. Depends really, because sometimes your cash on cash numbers are doing really well. But let's just say that I would prefer to finance maybe a property that I feel that um, is going to have a very big increase in valuation within the next 5 years or so, and I would prefer to really put, to get a mortgage out on that property than I would in a property that's already rented, that maybe the resale value isn't gonna go up as much on a year to year basis, and I just
Yeah.
prefer to do cash. The return is quite simple, and you're gonna see it immediately if the property's rented, and again, you're gonna be able to keep much more of your money.
So how many properties do you have right now?
So currently, I have a total of 7 properties for myself, and then I manage for my
It's a lot of properties.
for I manage for my family, about another 5 properties as well. So currently, I manage 12 properties, which I mean,
It's quite a bit of work.
it is quite a bit of work,
Do
and
you have people who work for you?
I have people that work with me,
Okay.
and so yeah, we make it happen. And I also have really my wife right now is the person that has the books, and that she's amazing at Excel
Oh, that's great.
spreadsheets.
She works with
So
you in that regard as well.
of
Big
course,
time.
the numbers work because she's involved. I mean,
Yeah, I mean,
she
with all the
just
stuff you have to do, jeez.
for sure, she knows how to work an Excel spreadsheet much better than I do, and that's actually that's where the magic
So
happens.
geez, so with 12 properties, that's like what? That's 12 families, or would you say people, or there's probably more than 12 living
Yeah,
people living in these properties.
12 families.
How
Yeah,
is the have any of them, been like, hey, I need some help, like, to pay my rent? Has it affected you
it
negatively?
happens. It happens.
Or are you pretty well insulated from any negative market impacts? Like, has it affected, the income stream?
I think um, I think our criterias have been set in a way that we focus on areas that normally aren't impacted either immediately or as heavily as when things happen.
Yeah, when
um
there's dips
when there's
in
dips.
the income. Or,
Correct. So I mean, I think that we're choosing safe bets, let's say. And
so places where, like, for example, rent is already at like the baseline, like that,
pretty much.
like it can't go lower. You
hmm
know what I mean?
hmm
That's like places that you look at.
Exactly,
Those
and
are
that
more immune
and
to
that we know that exactly those are more immune to it, and also that that the
market
areas
changes.
exactly that the areas basically um are able to withstand, because they have these are people that can have employment really accessible to them, and so they are less volatile in that regard.
Now, as far as your target segmentation for, I mean, is that based on like income? Is that based on
Income.
location? Is it income?
Income and location,
Income
but
and
income
location.
is huge.
And
Um,
is it around the median? Is that what you're saying?
yeah,
That's
yes,
you're renting
yeah,
out to people around the median.
yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice.
So, I mean, again, when dips happen, we have less sensitive, areas within the market, or tiers within the market that are affected immediately by things. And so, generally speaking, it's as you say, rents are low enough that people generally are able to cover them. Even if they're working, lower paying jobs or middle paying jobs, these are rents that
I mean, yeah, they're bear market proof.
they're exactly
That's exactly what you want from a passive income stream.
exactly yeah.
So wow, 12 properties, 7 that's fantastic. So would you consider them passive income streams?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So at what point does, in your opinion, a passive income stream become work? Just you're trading your time for money.
So the good thing is, so the first answer to that is, I think at the moment that we decide to, instead of having 7 or 12 separate properties, we decide to just buy one large property and rent all the units out and keep the management of that one and be able to
Oh, so
grow.
you own a complex with your family.
No, not a complex.
Oh,
Separate. Yeah, no. These
but
are
they're within the
separate.
same area?
Generally speaking, they're within
Okay.
the same area. Yeah, and so what happens is when you sell, these different properties and buy, purchase one multifamily or building units, and you open yourself to managing just a full building, where you likely have maybe 20 or more families. I think at that point it takes on a different magnitude, and that at that moment you also have to think about management. Are you able to really have, are your systems able to cope with that, and you can still have a life? Because you have to think about, of course, the upkeep of these properties. I mean, plumbing, electricity, AC, all of that. Um, and then the follow up to that is, well, that would just depend. I mean, do I just want to kind of just live off of receiving rent and making sure that I manage something well enough to receive rent, and then forget about all our other businesses, or do we just want to continue how we are now, which we have that as a stream of income, and we think it's passive because it covers our costs, it covers our living expenses, and makes sure that we're comfortable, and any other businesses that we do just bring up, are adding to our capital and are adding to our wealth. So
So you don't really have like a set line that is crossed in regard to what when passive income becomes trading your time for money. It's just kind of like
I think
how
we're
can we maintain the income stream
yeah,
and we'll do
where
whatever it
when
takes.
when that really happens, that line that you cross is when this stops being this, something that secondarily helps you cover your costs, and it becomes your primary source of income.
Mhm.
And that's where I think that line is crossed, and that's why I was saying, once we stop focusing on all our other businesses and we start just really grabbing the primary source of our income from here, that's when I think that line is crossed. But at this moment, I mean, really, thankfully, all our other businesses are doing well. So if we lose two, three, of these apartments or of these properties, we'll be able to cope with it, and we'll be able to continue on with our lives, thankfully. So that's where I see that the line is crossed between passive income and primary source of income.
Yeah, so basically when the income of that one thing that you're focusing on and the time that it takes to make that income just completely dominates the other industries that you're working in. That makes sense.
And activities.
And activities, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, I had a very great mentor when I was. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call him a mentor, but I would just call him somebody who gave me a lot of knowledge on financial literacy and financial freedom. And he told me that, and I agree with him, even though it's like tough to agree with, that passive income stops becoming passive income by definition in his eyes, and he lives off of just passive income. He doesn't have to work. He says once, so for every $2,000 of monthly income, um, 5 hours has to be spent making that. So
Mhm.
once you pass 5 hours, um, to make $2,000 of monthly income, then it's not passive income anymore by definition. That's what he told me. And it's obviously opinion
Well,
based, and I love that.
that could be
Um,
a good barometer though.
yeah, and that's tough to get to, and it um, takes a lot of you know saving ultimately.
I think it takes.
And
I'll tell you something, Peter. I honestly think it takes you looking over your fears, and it takes creativity.
for sure,
Yeah,
gotta be creative.
I think you have to be creative enough to make sure that your strategies are actually well executed.
Right.
That's one thing, and then the other thing is, I kid you not, you can look for a place that you can. Yeah, you'll have to save some money, of course, but you'll be able to afford a place like some of the ones that we've mentioned here in this conversation today,
Recurring cash
and
flow
just
producing.
exactly, and then and honestly, it's the first step that you take that gets your jitters, that kind of like really takes your jitters away, and that first step is what really puts you in a position where you see that now things are possible.
Right.
And I think that's what it really is. You know, I actually like the numbers that he put on it. To be very sincere,
Yeah.
yeah. I hadn't thought about it that way,
Yeah,
but I
me
think
either.
I would
But this
agree.
guy just this is what he does.
Yeah.